Hey everybody, Mike Toy, Bonsai Boise. This is footage from November of 23. This is a ficus of some type. I believe it's a Green Island ficus, just based on the leaves. I have a ginseng ficus with Green Island ficus grafted on, which is very similar. That's where I got that. I could be wrong, could be something else. But anyways, I had it as an experiment in this big pot. The experiment has been failing. So this is as of yesterday, April 24. For whatever reason, it just died back like quite a bit. So I'm going to change plans here and switch it up. I'm going to take it out of this big pot. And put it in this tiny little pot. Because why not? Pretty big change. But there is some reasoning behind the madness. First, I'm going to take a look here at the structure, and as you can see, the top half died back, so I just need to figure out how far back I'm going to take it. But I'm working on a theory with these. The theory of thickening up a trunk. And the theory is, we've all heard that, you put a tree in a bigger pot, it gives the roots more room to grow. And it grows faster and thicker. Which I'm not saying that isn't true, but I'm saying from my experience with this and a few others, I haven't really seen that type of result. On the flip side, I have seen some trees in small pots get thick. And I have a theory of why. So as I'm deciding which branches to keep and which ones to lose here, I'll explain my theory. But what I'm trying to decide is I'm looking at this tree at this moment here. I'm trying to decide whether to take it back to that long branch at the bottom right or to lose that and keep the structure as is. But back to my theory. So my theory is, in a big pot, a tree grows its roots down into the soil and it spreads out and grows and gets nice and healthy. The roots thicken up. As the roots thicken up, eventually the trunk and the branches thicken up. However, in a very small pot where roots don't have a lot of room to grow, it sort of squeezes that growth outward and upward into the trunk. I know that's very different from everything we're taught and everything we hear and learn. But that's just a theory that I'm working on, and this is going to be my experiment to see if there's any truth to that. But if you think about a toothpaste bottle, if that has a hole at the top and a hole at the bottom, and you squeeze it in the middle, it's going to come out the top and the bottom. Now, if it doesn't have a hole on the bottom and it only has a hole on the top and you squeeze it, all that stuff is going to have to come out of the top. And that's where all the toothpaste will be. That's my on-the-spot analogy. But that's what I'm thinking with growth and, thickening of roots and trunk. So we're going to find out. In the meantime, I wasn't sure what to expect in here. I potted this in there about 1.5 years ago, maybe almost 2 years ago. As you can see, look at that big, thick root right there. See, that's all growth that didn't come out the top into the trunk. That was all growth that went downward into the soil. One could argue that, that wouldn't have happened in a small pot. And maybe that's true. I don't know. We're going to find out. Now back to this tree specifically. One thing I like about this little guy is that it's got a good taper. I'm going to try to take this big knob down a little bit, down to the root plane, without destroying that one little lone root on that side. My concave cutters are not very sharp apparently because I'm having trouble making a clean cut. kind of struggling with it. And I'm trying to not damage any roots since I took off that big root. I want to keep what I do have. Oops. And then I immediately screwed up. So we'll see if we can salvage what's left here. So a reason that I also think it's a green island ficus, by the way, is I've got those trees from Costco. They advertise them as a ginseng ficus. Maybe they are. I'm not really sure what the stock is, but it's got these green island ficus leaves grafted on. That's what all those branches are. And the leaves are very similar to those. I've taken cuttings from both and they end up kind of being the same. So that's why I think this is just a green island ficus, which is still kind of interesting because you never see them for sale. It was the only time I ever saw one for sale at a nursery. Back to my theory on the trunk thickening part. A couple of caveats to that is you do have to trim the roots a lot more often when it's in a small pot, because the health will suffer if you let it get root bound and stay root bound for a while. But one thing I've always noticed in the past as well that kind of leads me to this theory, in addition to everything else, is that I've noticed that trees that get root bound, they seem to have this kind of crazy growth spurt, this last burst of energy right before they start to suffer. Like a noticeable growth spurt. And I've seen that on multiple types of trees. Ficus, maples, elms, all kind of trees. So that could be why. It could be that right as it starts to get root bound, that energy and growth has nowhere to go, so it just goes up. And that's what I notice. So leave me some comments, if you have a theory on this, or if you agree or disagree, whatever. There's no wrong answer there, or just for stating your opinion. It's just a theory. But I would also encourage you, if you haven't checked out the channel yet for Back Garden Bonsai, check out his videos. I'm a big fan of his channel, but he puts his trees in very small pots often. And I've noticed that his trunks get really thick really fast. And that's another leading reason to this theory for me. But anyways, here's my little green island ficus. You see how small it is? I don't usually do these small ones in a small pot. I don't know why. Maybe they take more light-handed care, and I'm kind of clumsy sometimes, so I don't do them. I don't know. But I thought it turned out kind of cool. The movement in the trunk and the branches, it just ended up that way, the way that it died back. So pretty happy with that. I'd like to expose a little more of that root base eventually if I can. Right now I can't really spare it because it's not wired in or anything. You can see where I cracked this pot. I don't even remember how I did it. At one point I did though. So that's the story on my Green Island Ficus experiment tree. Please do leave me your opinions and comments and theories on everything discussed. And we can all learn together. In the meantime, I appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe. And have a good rest of your day.